Howdy, everyone. My name is Lieutenant Thacker. I'm a recent 2021 graduate of the United States Air Force Academy. I'm currently an active duty officer in the United States Space Force, going to cyberspace training in a couple months. And I'm excited to talk to you about the best school in the nation. So we can hit the next slide. So this is the Air Force Academy. It's beautiful. It's located in Colorado Springs, not too far from the nearest Chick-fil-A, but close enough that you can study when you need to. I spent 2 years in the dorm you can see on the far right. And then there's a dorm off to the left too that about half our student body gets to live in as well. It's a beautiful campus. It's a little bit closer to home for you guys than the rest of the service academies. So if you like hanging out with mom and dad, you really want to be able to fly home and see them as much as you can, it's definitely a great option for you guys. And if you want to get away from your parents, it's definitely far enough away that it's a little bit of a burden to go. So next slide. So here are just some stats about the Air Force Academy. I was a computer science major while I was there. We're definitely up here in the numbers as well. I just don't know why it's not on here. But yeah, we're one of the best aeronautical engineering schools in the nation. We are one of the best for undergraduate engineering and the #3 public college in the nation. So next slide. We also have some really awesome majors and minors. So we recently added a data science minor. Recently added a nuclear weapons and strategies major that you can take, as well as space warfighting. So if you really think about any degree you could really want to do at the Air Force Academy, you can definitely go out and do it. Next slide. We also have arguably the best athletics teams out of all the academies. We really like to rib on Army and Navy, depending on who gets to win each year. I never got to see a Commander-in-Chief trophy while I was there, but I think we'll get it this year and beat Navy. It's the only thing that matters, right? But if you like cross country, if you like track, if you like football, you like basketball, if you like any of the D1 sports, we have all of them. And if you don't, we have a lot of club sports you can take a look at too. Next slide. RBCT is a little bit different than the others. We don't place as much emphasis on running around in the woods or swimming through the sea, I guess. But it's an awesome experience. A lot of kids are a little bit spooked about going to a service academy, having to go through BCT. I really loved it. I got in a lot of trouble because I laughed through about 90% of it. But if you have a good attitude and you come in physically fit and ready, that's definitely an awesome experience and you will never forget it. I was just talking to some friends of mine last week about how awesome it was us going through it together, and those friendships last a lifetime. Next slide. We also have an absolute metric ton of clubs. So we have a club that gets to launch a satellite into space every couple of years. So you get to strap it onto a Falcon 9 and shoot it up into space, and you get to build it at the academy and ship it around. I doubt any of you remember, but a couple of years ago, one of our clubs in the stairwell was on America's Got Talent. We also have my favorite club, the Triathlon Club, which I was a part of for 3 years at the academy. So really, if you want to think about doing something at the academy, you have an extracurricular you want to do, you have a club you want to start, the academy will fund it, the academy will let you do it, and you can recruit people and really get your dream going. So the clubs are one of my favorite parts about the academy, and I'm sure they will be too, yours if you go. Next slide. We also have a cadet sponsor program. So I was from Oregon and I really missed my mom and dad, but I didn't have to worry about it for long. They gave me a sponsor family who was awesome. They got to give me home cooked meals. They really helped me out. They made up a few SOFA grads, retired military, civilians who really just want to help out. If you just want to have a home away from home, get a place to relax from the stress of the academy, our sponsor program is an awesome program that we have. Next slide. Quick sidetrack story. We have a lot of programs we get to send you to over the summer, over spring break. My favorite memory of one of these was I actually got to go to the Omani Air Force Academy over in the Middle East. Spent about a week and a half there learning their culture, learning how their military operated. It was an awesome experience. The government actually paid me more to go and do than I would have earned regularly, and it was completely free. We also send all our 2 digs to random Air Force bases around the country so you can experience jobs. You do lots of summer research. I have people who went to go work at NASA, the NSA, really awesome programs like that that you can get at the other service academies, but I think ours are a little cooler. Next slide. We also have all the airmanship programs. So if you want to jump out of a perfectly good aircraft, or you want to fly an aircraft, or you want to hack a plane or an RPA, or you want to launch something into space, fly a glider or fly a drone, you can do all of these things at the Air Force Academy. They're all free for you to do. Every freshman gets 5 flights in a glider. It's an awesome experience if you really want to be an aviator, so you can see what it's like to be in an aircraft, take control, and fly it around. Next slide. So we are the youngest service academy. We like to think that makes us a little bit more flexible, a little bit less traditional. Our culture is a little bit different than the other academies. We are more relaxed, a little bit more corporate, which is not a slur against the academy. It's just a different feel. So we are the youngest. We only have around 54,000 LTs who've graduated so far, but that makes us a really small brotherhood that you get to bond with. Next slide. We have 35 different career fields. Every year, about 50% of each class, so 1,000 kids, gets to go on and become pilots in the Air Force. 10% gets to go on to be Space Force, and 10% gets to go to grad school. So that could be law school, medical school, public policy graduate schools. I have friends who are getting their nursing degrees, their doctorates, all these types of postgraduate schools that the Air Force will pay for you to go and do. Next slide. These are all the career fields. Obviously, the one people really are after is pilot when they think of the Air Force Academy, but acquisitions people get to buy whatever they want for the Air Force. Obviously, whatever they want is a little bit of an exaggeration, or you can go work in intelligence. You can go be a weather officer. You can go be OSI, which is the NCIS of the Air Force. These are awesome career fields that you can serve in and have a great time doing. Or you can go to the next slide and go to the Space Force, which is the coolest. So we only have 5 career fields. Mine is cyberspace, but we also have intelligence. Space ops people get to fly the satellites. Engineers get to build them. And acquisitions gets to buy the rockets that they get to go up into space on. So Space Force is really small, but it's really awesome. We are arguably the best commissioning source into the Space Force. The other service academies will commission maybe 1 or 2 a year. But if you want to go into the Space Force, it's the Air Force Academy. Next slide. So our application is a little bit like everyone else's. You got to be academically competitive, physically qualified, medically qualified, have good character and leadership, and of course, get a nomination. So let's go on. Next slide. Here's a little bit of our stats. They're going to be the same for the rest of the service academies. Just want to kind of get this out of the way so they don't have to talk about it as much. But again, so you're seeing these averages. If you are below these averages, I wouldn't be super worried. These are averages. Obviously, if you have a 1.4, then definitely start hitting the books, but these are averages. So some people are way above them, some people are way below them. So don't get depressed if you're not at exactly a 3.85 or a 4.0. Next slide. We also have a CFA, all the service academies do. So make sure you're passing that basketball throw. I remember 5 years ago trying to get in and trying to throw at basketball as far as I could, and I didn't start soon enough, so I didn't do as well as I can. The basketball throw is all about practice, making perfect. Everything else you can just hit the gym and work on. I can't answer any question about the DOD-MERB, so if you have a question about that, I would apply to the academy and let them tell you no. Next slide. We also really want to see you demonstrating character and leadership. Just a personal plea from me, don't do 12 things and regret your high school experience and be like, oh man, I wish I had done really focused in on student government or really focused in on Civil Air Patrol. The academies don't want to see you spread yourself too thin. We want to make sure that you are invested in organizations and invested in making changes in those organizations. So try and focus on 1 or 2 of these things, get leadership from it, change your organization for the better, and demonstrate your character. Next slide. So we have around 11,000 people apply to the academy each year. It slowly gets whittled down to around 1,200 people that we admit. So we are an extremely competitive school, as are all the service academies. But you can see that the qualified candidates are really the people who complete their application. So as long as you complete your application to a service academy, instead of competing with around 11,000 people, you are competing with 4,000. So those odds are a little bit better. So definitely, we say in admissions, complete to compete. You got to complete your application if you want to get in. Next slide. We also have awesome Air Force preparatory schools and Falcon Foundation preparatory schools. The USAFA one is on base. We have a pretty good acceptance rate out of there into the academy proper. And we also have the Falcon Foundations, which are preparatory schools scattered across the nation. We give you a scholarship to go there. And then at the end, you have a pretty good chance of getting into the academy as well. If you get one of these or you're interested in one of these, definitely reach out and I can talk to you about them. They are awesome opportunities to serve your country. Next slide. All right, so that's the end of my presentation. Just to sum it up, we have no tuition costs. We have no room and board costs, but our room and board is the best out of all the academies. A guaranteed career where you can fly if you want to. You get a sweet monthly stipend and medical and dental coverage. So if you're like me and a little bit blind, you can definitely get your eyes zapped out and now see 20/20. So it's an awesome school. I really love it. If you have any questions, throw them in the chat. And over to Major Lacey for Air Force ROTC.